Gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times.
On the fence. I'm on the fence.
We don't need to talk about that.
Left hook from Yaounde came and landed on him, you know, so...
I'm just gonna quickly look at my phone just to make sure, you know, Twitter, like I said, I got that Islam tweet, very 18 minutes, but I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. I don't want to get into the politics. I think Izzy made really serious statements yesterday about everything that Francis was fighting for is the right thing and that the business needs to change and that he agrees. Izzy said that he did a press conference. Pardon?
Let's touch on that.
You want to touch on it? Okay,
yeah.
I'll read the transcript. I'll read the transcript and then we'll throw it up. So Izzy did a press conference in as part of the scrum at the end of the fight. Izzy's words, I'll read them word for word. Francis Ngannou made the right call. He's the one that kicked in the door. We've all been behind him. Wow. We've been saying this for how long? If you guys go back on the tapes, I've been saying the same thing. I'm not going to harp on about it, but he's right. It's little things. He's asking for things that should be mandatory. He wasn't asking for crazy, ridiculous, diva-ish demands. I think he'll come back. He's the greatest heavyweight we've ever had, not just in the UFC, in history.
Boom. Are we talking
big statement
wise or bravery wise? You know, where he kicked the door down. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree to everything up until that point. but yeah, I mean, I think he's talking sense there. It's true. The things that he was asking for, whether they're true or not, was like healthcare. Come on. How many times have fighters been talking about healthcare in the UFC? How many years? You know, he tried to get maybe his contract to be more lenient so he can maybe go away and do boxing and then come back. I'm sorry, they let McGregor do it. There's one rule for one and there's another rule for another. Bellator, you've seen them letting people go. They were letting Dylan Dennis go and fight KSI before he chickened out of it.
Please don't. Dylan Dennis is not a real fighter.
Don't mention that dude, bro. I'm pointing as we speak.
I was talking about the principle, though. You know, you need to keep up with the times. You know, it's like some, you know, companies don't let you work from home at the moment in time. Like, come on, like it's 2023. You know, it's these little things that Francis are asking for that I agree. You know, he's not asking for the world. The fighters deserve it. Maybe not everybody to let them go out of the contract and fight in boxing, but at least, you know, the champions when they've done or they've got built up enough credit with the company. But yeah.
Like, as much as I love the UFC and I like Dana White, but like there are a lot of, I like to compartmentalize people. Like I like Dana in certain aspects, but in certain things, he kind of messes up. And this is one of those things where it's like, Conor McGregor gets to do it and you don't, because like they want total control. I can give you like a really simple example. Do you know, of course, you know, the trainer of Justin Gaethje, Trevor Whitman, he has a brand called Onyx for years, etc. And so Onyx is Joe Rogan talked about it. He has a superior technology to the current UFC gloves, and he proposed to him like, let's work together. They wouldn't change the gloves because they want to own it 100%. They don't want to do collaborations. I'm like, you see how many blue balls we get when people get poked in the eyes and they can't fucking like
kills fights. It kills fights. There's the Sean O'Malley, Pedro Munoz fight. What was the Bilal Muhammad, Leon Edwards fight? So many fights.
Exactly. Because it's kind of like it doesn't extend their fingers. It's not like flat. The Onyx version makes it.
It does. It does that. Absolutely. I've heard about these gloves now for 2-3 years. I've heard about these gloves, and then Jamal Hill and Joe Rogan were talking about it again as recently as, like you said, this week. And Jamal Hill and Joe Rogan this week, and that was about a 10-minute discussion point where he was exactly all the points you've just raised. Like, it's a superior glove, it's great for safety, and I think the first Jamal Hill asked a great question. He said, "Oh, but will it compromise on grappling?" And Joe Rogan was like, "No, it doesn't. It allows that flexibility where you can still, you know, grapple." And talking of eye pokes, obviously we got. As some, you know, Marty refers to him as the king of eye pokes is also in John Jones. Like, I'm sure he loves a good eye poke, doesn't he?
Leon Scissorhands, as Colby Covington says. So we can call him Johnny Scissorhands as well. You know?
They need to have, you know how they have bets in football about like yellow cards and so on. When John Jones is fighting, they need to have a bet on how many eye pokes there's going to be.
I'm putting 100 on that. I'm putting 100. You know?
And there lies the reason why Onyx will never get into the UFC, because John Jones is probably vetoing it, saying no.
Yeah. He could not take an advantage. You know, he could not take advantage. I don't want to piss you off, but yeah.
But no, what you're saying is facts. That's true. They like to control things, and from a business perspective, I understand. Obviously, they want to make as much money as possible. But I'm sorry, when you talk about fighter welfare and just spreading the equality, and going back again, it's a little bit off topic, but in terms of what them wanting to control. Obviously, we knew before the Reebok deal, the multi-million-pound Reebok deal, that standardized all of the fight wear, all of the shorts, all of the sponsorships. Before that, fighters were allowed to get their own sponsorships. You know, they were allowed to bring that banner behind them when the fight kicks off. On their shorts, they were allowed to have whatever they want. Like
Francis asked for that in the negotiations.
That's what he asked for.
Okay. He asked for, I want sponsorships,
and they said no.
They said no.
And this is the thing. So I think really the narrative is it makes it more equal for the whole of the card, because apparently now that Reebok, now Venom, give the UFC a lot of money, and then each fighter gets a proportion of that. Whereas it makes it more balanced. But actually, you're limiting the earning potential of 70% of the cards, 70% of the roster, basically. And I think now you can only do Monster. Monster only like sponsor you if you're the champion. Like us, Islam today had the Monster on his shorts. He would get an extra maybe 50k or whatever from there.
Mate, I won't tell you how, but I've had privy to see what the Monster sponsorship looks like in certain cases, not champion cases, and it's not as much as you think it is. They're also screwing over fighters in terms of the visibility. And if you go back on the tapes and you watch certain fighters' press conferences, if you remember Cristiano Ronaldo at the World Cup, Coca-Cola moves it.
Yeah,
Izzy does the same with Monster every single time, and there's other fighters that do the same, where they don't want that because they're not paying them enough as well. We're talking, I think. We're talking $6,000 in some cases.
No way.
In some cases,
pocket 1,000 from that after tax.
In some cases.
Yo, let King's Court sponsor you. I tell you.
Yo,
so it's like, and it's an increment. So it'll be like, if you win, you get $1,000, because obviously if you win, then you're in the post-fight interview, which is the opportunity. Put the hat on, $2,000. Logo on your short, $2,000. Get the can on the bottle at the end of the fight and drink from it, $2,000. That's all the cumulative to $7,000. I've seen the breakdown. I can't remember where. I think it was maybe business, or maybe not my work, but maybe someone else's job. But anyway, I've seen the breakdown and I was like, "Are you serious?"
That's mad,
bro. Like that's what Francis was talking about. Like really, like small things that would like the fighters are the business. All right. Like, yeah, you can manage, you can book venues. Thank you, Uncle Dana. But you need the fighters as well. And he basically took their like livelihoods, a big chunk of it, you know. And he was just like Francis was talking about, like, just healthcare. Let me get a sponsorships, because he's making out of the octagon a lot of money from sponsorships, even more than he does fighting. So that would be even much more had he had the opportunity to do that inside of the octagon. So they always want that, you know, kind of control where, and the thing also with the negotiations was you get all those benefits. They tell Francis, like, you get all the benefits that, you can get, I don't know, 10 million each title defense. But if you do lose, you're going to get bumped down to, I don't know, maybe 600,000 per fight. So it's also dependable upon him winning. And he's at a point in his career where he's not really that young. He's pushing 37. and he needs as much money as possible because the only vehicle that athletes have is their body, and they have a limited time spot. They have like a limited window, and so once they're like 40, it's pretty much kind of over. So they have to have as much cash as possible in their prime to live afterwards, because they have two lives, when they're fighting and after retirement. So why not help them in the first phase, of their lives, where they do have that vehicle, where they are mobile, where they can make a lot of money with their performances. So that's what he's asking him. Like, if you can let me just fight in the box with, I don't know, Deontay Wilder, while also being in the UFC, that would be awesome for me and my family. But nah, they want a chunk of that as well. And if they do that, if they give him that, if they grant him that thing, then Usman will come up to him, and they'll open a window for a lot of fighters to come, and it would be like a new kind of mission for fighters. Yeah, I want to be champion, and I want to do this. I want to have 3 title defenses, and then I want to go box. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the UFC as a organization. Like, we are independent. We're not a vehicle to move you to boxing. So I don't know. It's a lot of like, UFC has some points in there. The fighters definitely have a lot of points in there. So it's kind of like gray area.
That's true. And everything you said is spot on. And I think the only way to put the side hustles to bed is to give them a substantial chunk of the revenue that, for example, they get in the NBA and the NFL, where you hear of basketball players signing, 5-year contracts to, you're talking hundreds of millions worth, because they're getting their fair slice of the pie, legit. And they're not getting that fair slice of the pie in UFC by far. So I think to put to bed that people putting 1 foot in to go or 1 foot out and all the rest of it, you have to just pay them the percentage of revenue that they're worth. And back to your point, there is no UFC without the fighters. So pay them their worth. And then you won't need the extra sponsorship, and they won't be tempted by boxing, because they're hearing of their fighters. If anything, they're more accomplished fighters than boxers, because they're learning God knows how many disciplines to not get killed in a cage, where boxers just need to learn how to box. But yet you're hearing of, subpar boxers, I'm not going to name names, but they're getting 2 million a fight, 2.5 million a fight. They're not even champions, but they're fighting a big name who might, for example, a Tyson Fury, minimum 25 million a fight. Minimum. And whoever Tyson Fury fights, if they're not even a name, they're getting 2 million. That's their slice of the pie. So if you're hearing that and you're putting your body on the line to a bigger degree, you're fighting more, you're not fighting once a year, you're fighting 3-4 times a year. Francis was also asking for, I think, pension. They don't have a pension. Because these guys don't necessarily have good money management. So the UFC could effectively start building up for their fighters' futures by having a pension pot for them, so they have a leg to stand on. Again, that comes with paying them substantially, and a proper pension where, the fighter pays in, the employer pays in. That's what Francis has also asked for, because that is what everybody else has in the workplace.
Exactly.
And he's also asked for, when fighters are coming up, especially, that actually we're talking like accommodation and flights for their corners. They're paying for that out of their own pocket. I believe the UFC only covers, I think the UFC only covers like the fighter and then like the cornerman 1 and 2, but the cornermans are usually 4 or 5. So 3, 4, 5. So cornerman 3 and 4 of a small team, the fighter has to pay for them, their flights and their accommodation, and let alone camping all the other costs out of their own pocket. So if they were 10 for 10, for example, 10 to show, 10 to win, they're probably, let alone we're not even talking about tax. That's going to half everything. God knows what you're going home with 3-4K in your own pocket per camp.
It's not a life.
Because you've got to pay your corner, you've got to pay your gym subs, and you've got to pay for flights and accommodation for cornerman 3 and 4.
That does not make sense.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I think, just a quick one as well, I was listening to, I've forgotten who it was, but I think it was Figgy's coach
Mhm.
either Figgy's coach or no, Brandon Moreno's coach, I think it was, that one of the coaches that couldn't go with him. I'll put it down if I've got it wrong. Couldn't go
Wow.
with him because another fighter was supposed to cover his transport to fly over to Brazil, to Rio, but that other fighter, I think he got pulled from the card. So basically, there wasn't enough. Well, there was nobody covering that coach's transportation to go to Brazil, so he couldn't. Yeah, so he couldn't either coach. I think it was Moreno or Figgy.
Moreno's. It was Moreno's.
Moreno's. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
forgotten who the guy is, but we'll put it down if.
Yeah.
But it goes to show. But the thing is, nothing is going to change unless the UFC are impacted financially from this topic. You see in other businesses and other promotions now, Bellator, PFL have this like £1 million challenger series or whatever it's called, where you really you really have to win 3 fights sort of thing, and you get $1 million. Some of these fighters here in the UFC, how many fights do they have to win to get $1 million? So many, and really that's only a question if you're the top contender in each division. Not only that, you have to be a big name and bring money in. So that will only change once there's a financial, should we say, impact to the UFC. But until then, I think we're going to see a lot of people choosing not to re-sign contracts and go elsewhere.
Just like what was his name? The Barboza knocked him out, and it was a delayed knockout. What was his name?
Shane Burgos.
Shane Burgos. He did sign to the PFL, right?
Oh, he just that was mad. That was like, I thought he had some like brain damage or something. It's just delayed.
Shane Burgos.
Put that clip on. You have to clip that into this.
I'll put it.
Oh my gosh. My goodness.
Yeah,
it was
you're right.
crazy. But a lot of people are just opting for other organizations to make more money at the end of the day. They're not caring about the class, like, oh, I'm a UFC fighter. They don't know what's on the inside. People don't know what's on the inside. So they'd be like, yeah, heck, let's go with Bellator or whatever. Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, it's really unfortunate.
Definitely.
And people besides, it's a public company. If they can pay fighters more, it would not be a lot of money for them as well.
Good point. Yeah, we're talking. The UFC isn't an independent company; it's part of the larger group Endeavor, and they're huge. Yeah. They're absolutely massive. That's a very good point. It's not gonna be much skin of their nose to be able to actually balance the books and make sure that the people, the fighters are getting the right remuneration.
Yeah,
I was gonna say reparations.
Give that too.
I mean, we'll take that as well. But very good point.
Just 40% maybe, it would make a world of difference. And it's not even 20. It's not even 10. I don't know. I'm not sure the exact figure, but if they make it 40%, whoa, a lot of money, a lot of dough.
Huge difference. No, but absolute pleasure. Just want to wrap things up. We've been going. It's been an absolute pleasure, Hadi, of you joining us.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say, obviously, and the class, the man that is Islam. He mentioned it at the end of the fight. Unfortunately, it didn't get acknowledged. I wish it did, not just by the crowd, but even by Mike Bisping and everything. I think he's using this platform for the right reasons, and that was for everybody to remember Turkey and Syria. He said that was the last thing he said right in his speech, and I was like, yeah, that's again that shows in the moment, despite everything that's happened in that fight and the roller coaster that it was, he's still got that focus to think of our brothers and sisters, not just Muslim brothers and sisters. That's our brothers and sisters. We all bleed the same color. So just wanna call that out and not just to ourselves, but to anybody who sees us, just to, if you're not sending money, please just pray for what is going on in that part of the world, because it's very, very, it's a very emotional time for a lot of families with, friends and family back there and so on. And it's just heartbreaking to see overall. So I just wanted to wrap things up and say, sending love, prayers, and all the best to Turkey and Syria and all the people there and any families and friends that are affected.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to go through war, and it's a whole another thing to, be affected by natural causes as well. So yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate, but I pray that it will be like one of the last problems there, right there in that region. So
Yeah.
and yeah, thank you for the acknowledgement, my man.
No problem. And thank you for joining us, Hadi.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone, it's good. It's been an absolute pleasure. You'll be back. I'm telling you, this guy will be back.
He'll be
APL,
back.
you
He'll
might
be
be
back.
losing your job, APL.
Thank you, bro.
Where you at though?
No, thank you, thank you. I love MMA, and you're amazing people, and I'm really thankful to have met you. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very, very much for having me.
Big up, Hadi, Mike. I love this guy. I love this guy. Yo, that was been your, I don't even know what to call that. That was your review show, 284, a bit of politics, a bit of not just MMA politics, but world politics. We banged the worlds to rights. It was quite an episode. God knows how many episodes we're going to get out of this. Absolute pleasure with our first ever guest in almost 2 years, Hadi.
Thank you.
There'll be more to come, and he'll be back, I'm sure. And APL will probably be back because he knows his job's at threat now. She's your guy, Obasogi.
It's your guy, Mardi.
That is Hadi.
Thank you very much.
Over and out.
Over and out. Peace. Peace.
All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times.
On the fence. I'm on the fence.
We don't need to talk about that.
Left hook from Yaoundé came and landed on him, so.